When Tomorrow Comes, by Tony Gagliardi, Chapter 10. The Whispering Stones. The creek wound deeper into the island's interior, the coastal palms giving way to older growth, massive trees with buttressed roots and thick canopies that blocked out most of the sky. The group walked in single file, Leo at the front with machete in hand, Eva and Marina with the children clustered in the middle, while DJ and Sam brought up the rear. "Stay in sight of the person ahead of you," Leo called back. "We should be arriving at the stone circle soon." They followed its banks in cautious silence, the water's gentle murmur setting a steady rhythm as they walked. The water ran clear over smooth stones, worn by years of patient flow. In places, the banks showed signs of deliberate shaping, too even, too purposeful to be natural erosion. "How much further?" Noah asked, wiping sweat from his forehead. They'd been hiking for nearly an hour, the rising heat and humidity making every step feel twice as long. "Feel that?" Maya asked. "It's getting cooler." Eva studied both maps as they walked, her fingers tracing where the pilot's rough sketches aligned with Mateo's star-marked parchment. "The pilot wrote about a place where the water runs cold," she said, "and stones that seem to vibrate when wind passed through them. We should be close." Isla knelt by the creek to splash water on her face. She pulled her hand back with a small gasp. "It's really cold." As she leaned over the water, something caught her eye, a reflection of stone, grey shapes that didn't match the jungle around them. "There's something around the corner," she said, voice hushed with wonder. "I can see it in the water." DJ knelt beside her, squinting at the creek's surface. "She's right," he confirmed, surprise evident in his voice. "The water's showing what's ahead." As the group moved forward around the bend, the jungle opened into a sudden clearing where the creek widened. And there, catching the rays of sunlight that broke through the canopy, stood the circle. 12 stone pillars of varying heights formed a perfect ring, the tallest reaching nearly 15 feet. Too precise to be natural, too weathered to be recent. At the center lay a perfectly round pond, just as the pilot had described. The water within remained unnaturally still, mirroring the sky above like polished glass. "Can we go in?" Noah asked, unable to hide the excitement in his voice. Leo scanned the perimeter, eyes narrowed. "Yes," he said after a moment, "but carefully. And nobody touches anything until we know what we're dealing with." "DJ, Sam, take opposite sides of the perimeter," Leo added, his voice low but firm. "Keep your eyes on the tree line. Anything moves, you call it." Sam and DJ both nodded, moving to their positions without question. "Marina, stay with the kids. Eva, document everything you can." He turned to the children, his expression softening slightly. "Stay where we can see you. No wandering off." They stepped into the stone circle together. The ground beneath their feet changed, no longer the damp, uneven jungle floor, but a carpet of soft, pale moss that seemed to cushion each footstep into silence. The air shifted too, hushed and expectant, as if they'd crossed some invisible threshold as the sound of the creek faded behind them. Leo remained at the entrance, gaze constantly sweeping between the circle and the jungle beyond. DJ circled to the right, Sam to the left, both men scanning the dense foliage. The pillars loomed above them, 12 silent stones marking a perfect ring. Up close, the carvings revealed themselves, not random patterns, but deliberate symbols arranged in vertical and horizontal bands across each granite pillar. Eva moved slowly between 2 pillars, her tablet held high. "These carvings are extraordinary," she said, her academic tone giving way to genuine wonder in her eyes. "The precision, after all this time. They're not Mayan or Aztec, not Egyptian either." She stepped closer to examine the intricate carved symbols. "I've never seen markings like these before. If this is writing, it's unlike anything I've ever seen." Marina approached the central pond cautiously, the children clustering around her. The water's surface remained unnaturally still, a perfect mirror reflecting the sky above and the stone pillars around it. She crouched at its edge, careful not to touch the water. The stone rim was carved from a single piece, no seams, no joints, just one continuous circle of polished stone. "How is this still intact?" she whispered. "There's no erosion, no sign of age on the stonework." Eva moved to join her, studying the carved rim. The symbols matched the pillars, she noted, capturing close-ups with her tablet. The children had spread out within the circle, each drawn to different pillars, but staying within sight of the adults. Noah circled one stone covered in carved symbols, his fingers hovering over a prominent spiral pattern near its center. Luca and Danny stayed closer together, examining another stone etched with symbols, their eyes drawn to a lightning bolt carved prominently among them. These symbols, Maya said, drawn to a pillar marked with an 8-pointed star as she took a step toward it. Isla had wandered to the opposite side of the circle. "Look," she called, excitement overriding caution. "This one has waves, like my charm." Despite Leo's earlier warning, her hand was already reaching toward the stone pillar, drawn by a connection she couldn't resist. Her fingers brushed the weathered surface. The moment her skin touched the stone, a soft, clear tone hummed through the air, like crystal struck gently. Not loud, but pure, resonating through the clearing with perfect clarity. Everyone froze, heads turning toward the sound where Isla stood. "Isla," DJ started, taking a step toward his daughter. Before he could finish, a small jet of water rose from the central pond. Not from the middle, but from a specific point along its rim, precisely aligned with the wave-marked pillar Isla was touching. The water arced upward in a delicate curve, catching the dappled sunlight in a prism of color. Isla didn't pull away. Her eyes widened, fixed on the shimmering water jet. "It's beautiful," she whispered, her voice blending with the lingering tone. The adults instinctively moved closer to the children. Eva's tablet was already capturing everything, documenting from multiple angles. Leo remained at the entrance, tense but watchful. "What did you do?" Noah asked, moving closer to Isla. She shook her head slightly, her hand still pressed against the stone. "I don't know. It's singing." The tone continued, a single pure note that seemed to fill the clearing. The water jet maintained its perfect arc, dancing with light. Noah looked down at the spiral pattern beneath his hovering fingers. It seemed to pulse slightly in the filtered sunlight. Without asking permission, he pressed his palm against it, drawn by the same connection Isla had felt. "Noah, don't," Sam called, but too late. A second tone joined the first, slightly higher, playful, forming a perfect harmony with Isla's note. A second water jet sprang from another section of the pond's rim, intersecting with Isla's arc in mid-air. Where the streams crossed, light refracted and droplets scattered, creating momentary flashes. "Dad, look," Noah called, wonder replacing caution. "It's working for me too." Sam moved closer, his vigilance forgotten as he stared at the water display. "How is that possible?" Maya felt her crystal pendant growing warm against her skin, almost pulsing as she watched the water patterns. Her eyes returned to the pillar, marked with the 8-pointed star identical to her pendant. Something pulled at her, not just curiosity but recognition, as if the stone were calling to her specifically. Marina had backed away from the pond's edge as the water jets formed. "There's a reaction happening," she said, scientific interest overtaking caution. Eva moved between the pond and the pillars, tablet recording everything. "The stones are responding to them," she said. Maya approached her pillar slowly, deliberately, unlike Isla's impulsiveness or Noah's curiosity. The star pendant around her neck grew warmer with each step closer. She hesitated, glancing toward Eva. Her mother looked up from her tablet, eyes bright with scientific wonder and maternal pride, as she gave her an encouraging nod. Maya placed her palm against the 8-pointed star carved into the stone. A third tone joined the harmony, clear and bright, like starlight given voice. A new water jet rose from the pond, adding to the pattern taking shape above the surface. The moment the third tone joined, everything changed. The three intersecting streams now created a complex, shifting shape, water and light dancing together in 3 dimensions. Small droplets caught the sunlight, forming distinct geometric shapes. "Look at those patterns," Marina said, voice hushed with wonder. Eva moved closer, tablet focused on the water display. "The patterns are getting more complex." Marina watched with growing fascination. "They're creating something together. Each stone is just one part of a larger whole." Isla, excited by the beautiful display, slid her hand to a different symbol on her stone, a cluster of curved lines beneath the wave. The tone from her pillar changed subtly, and her water jet adjusted its arc in response. "Look," she called out, "it changes when I touch different parts." Noah quickly tried the same, moving his fingers to different symbols carved around the central spiral on his stone. The tone from it shifted pitch slightly, and his water jet adjusted, changing how the streams intersected. Maya followed suit, touching various symbols around the star pattern on her stone. Each slight movement of her fingers created subtle variations in both sound and water. The children experimented with different symbols on their stones, each touch creating new combinations of light and water patterns above the central pond. "It's like playing an instrument," Noah said, his fingers dancing across the stone's surface. When they touched different symbols simultaneously, the separate tones blended into rich, harmonious chords. The water patterns shifted into precise, beautiful geometric shapes that seemed to pulse with the music. "It's like they're singing together," Isla whispered, her fingers moving instinctively across the different symbols. "Or singing to us," Maya added softly, not taking her eyes off the dancing water. Noah glanced at the stones, then back at the patterns. "What do you think they're saying?" No one answered, but each child felt something. Not quite a voice, not quite a memory, but a presence reaching out through stone and water. Leo, still vigilant at the perimeter, couldn't hide his amazement. "Are you getting this?" he called to the others. "Already on it," DJ said, his phone raised to capture the phenomenon. Sam adjusted his position on the opposite side, his own device recording the dance of water and light. "These patterns," Eva murmured, moving around the pond with her tablet. "They correspond to different combinations of touches." Luca and Danny exchanged glances, each recognizing something in the other's eyes. They stood before their own pillars now, one marked with lightning, the other with a crescent moon. The circle was calling to them all, one by one, and one by one they were answering. While Isla, Noah, and Maya experimented with different patterns, Luca and Danny hesitated, still watching rather than participating. Danny's crescent moon ring felt strangely cold against her skin, unlike Maya's warming star. She traced the outline of the symbol carved into her pillar, a perfect crescent, identical to her ring, without actually touching the stone. "You feel it too, don't you?" Luca asked quietly, his eyes on the lightning bolt etched into his own pillar. Danny nodded. "It's different." Around the circle, Maya, Noah, and Isla continued their exploration, lost in the wonder of discovery. Their pillars sang together in perfect harmony, their water jets weaving intricate patterns of light and droplets above the pond. "Should we?" Danny asked, her voice barely audible. Luca's hand hovered near his stone. Leo said not to touch. "Since when do you listen to Leo?" There was a challenge in Danny's eyes, a familiar spark that had led them both into countless adventures. A half smile crossed Luca's face. Decision made, he reached out. His fingers brushed the lightning symbol. The effect was immediate and startling. A deep, resonant tone emerged, sharper than the others, with an edge that cut through the harmonious chorus. A new water jet shot upward from the pond, not smooth and graceful like the others, but jagged, pulsing with intensity. Where it intersected with the existing pattern, the water didn't flow smoothly. It fractured, scattered, creating momentary discord in the dance. "Luca," Leo started, taking a step forward. Danny was already reaching for her stone, her palm pressed flat against the crescent symbol. A new tone joined the chorus, low, haunting, with a minor key quality that sent shivers through the circle. Her water jet spiraled upward, weaving between the others, making the pattern more complex. The 5 jets now formed something new, no longer simply beautiful, but challenging, intricate, full of tensions and resolutions. The harmony hadn't been broken. It had been completed. "Look," Eva whispered, her tablet forgotten in her hands. Above the pond where the 5 streams intersected, water and light formed shapes unlike anything they'd seen before. Structures that shifted and danced in mid-air, forms that seemed to fold through themselves, patterns that defied every law they knew. The children's tones blended, 3 in harmony, 2 in counterpoint, creating music that felt ancient and new all at once. The perfect symmetry of before had given way to something wilder, deeper, more real. It needs all five, Marina said, understanding dawning in her eyes. The pattern was incomplete before. DJ kept filming from his position. Well, that's something you don't see every day. Sam lowered his phone, eyes wide. That's impossible. Yet it was happening before them. Leo had moved closer, his wariness momentarily forgotten. What is it? Eva shook her head, speechless for once. The children stood in their positions around the circle, each connected to their pillar, each adding their voice to the chorus. They weren't looking at each other, but somehow they moved in sync, their fingers tracing different symbols simultaneously, creating variations in the water patterns above the pond. Do you think it's more than just patterns? Maya asked suddenly, her voice distant as if half in a trance. It feels like it's trying to show us something. Noah tilted his head, eyes fixed on the dancing water. Like a message. Or a memory, Isla whispered. No one answered. No one needed to. The water dance spoke for itself, light-catching droplets, reflecting, refracting, building structures that defied explanation, yet somehow felt familiar, like something half-remembered from a dream. And beneath it all, the tones continued. Isla's clear melody, Noah's playful harmony, Maya's starlit foundation balanced by Luca's electric counterpoint and Danny's moon-shadow depth. 5 voices, 5 streams, 1 pattern, complex, beautiful and alive with meaning none of them understood. For several minutes, no one spoke. The water dance had cast a spell over them all, caught in its mesmerizing rhythm. Eva was the first to break from the trance as her researcher's instincts resurfaced. We need to document this thoroughly, she murmured, more to herself than anyone else. DJ, still filming from his position across the circle, zoomed in on the intricate geometry floating above the water. How long can they maintain this? He wondered aloud. Sam continued filming from the opposite side, switching his phone to slow-motion capture as he analyzed the rapid transformations of the water structures. Marina continued studying the pond's intricate rim. Look at this, she said, tracing invisible lines between the children and their jets. They're forming a star pattern across the circle. The children remained connected to their stones, seemingly oblivious to the adults' activity. Each stood with palm pressed against their pillar, eyes half closed, expressions caught between concentration and wonder. Their fingers moved instinctively across the stone surfaces, discovering different symbols, exploring the variations as each touch changed the water patterns and shifted the tones. Like musicians learning a new instrument through pure intuition. Eva approached Maya carefully, not wanting to break her connection. Maya, she said softly, what do you feel? Maya didn't turn, didn't even open her eyes. Warm, she whispered, like sunlight, but inside. Across the circle, Leo's vigilance had returned. The initial awe had faded, replaced by the familiar weight of responsibility. His eyes scanned the tree line, searching for movement, for watching eyes. Something prickled at the back of his neck, the sensation of being watched. Check the perimeter, he said quietly to Sam, who nodded and moved to get a wider view of their surroundings without stopping his recording. Eva had moved to Isla now. Isla, what do you feel? It's like waves, Isla replied, her voice dreamy. Not just water. Something flowing through me. Eva moved quickly between the children, her scientific mind cataloguing each observation. Noah? Numbers, he murmured. I see patterns. Like code, but not code. When she reached Luca and Danny, she noticed something different. While the others appeared relaxed, almost trance-like, the siblings' postures were tense, their expressions more focused. It feels like electricity running through me, Luca said before she could ask. Sharp and cold, but exciting. Like I'm plugged into something huge. Danny's voice was barely audible. Darkness, but not empty, full of stars. Sam, still recording from his position near the edge of the circle, suddenly tensed. Movement at the tree line, he said, voice low but carrying to Leo. Just inside the shadows. A branch snapped in the jungle beyond the clearing. Leo's head whipped toward the sound. Movement, he said sharply. The spell broke. The children's attention fractured, their connection to the pillars wavering. One by one, the water jets faltered. Isla's first, then Noah's, Maya's, Danny's, and finally Luca's. The tones faded, the patterns vanished, and water splashed back into the pond with a series of soft sounds. For a moment, silence. Then Leo was moving, fluid and purposeful. "Everyone regroup," he said, voice low but commanding. "Center of the circle. DJ Sam, keep an eye on the tree line." The children stepped back from their pillars, blinking as if waking from deep sleep. They moved toward each other, gathering near the pond's edge, exchanging glances. "It was trying to tell us something," Isla said suddenly, breaking the silence. "I could feel it." "Feel what?" Marina asked. Isla struggled for words, like when someone's trying to speak, but you don't know their language. Eva was already reviewing the footage, her fingers swiping rapidly through images. "We need to analyze this carefully. There are patterns within patterns here." "Did anyone else feel?" Noah began, then hesitated. "What?" Maya prompted. "Like, memories?" he finished. "But not my memories." The other children nodded slowly, understanding exactly what he meant. Leo stepped in from the perimeter, his expression guarded. "We need to move on. Now," he said, though his voice carried reluctance. "There's still ground to cover before dark." "But we just discovered something incredible," Eva protested, holding up her tablet. "This could be—" "We'll analyze everything later," Leo cut in, his tone leaving no room for argument. A heavy silence fell over the group. In that silence, they all felt it, the weight of being watched by unseen eyes. "Leo's right," Marina conceded. "We should find shelter before dark." Eva nodded reluctantly. "At least we have the recordings." The group began gathering their gear, preparing to move on. But the children lingered, each casting glances back at the whispering stones that had sung to them.